Okay. Hello. Yeah. Welcome everybody. Welcome to this class. Um, my name is Mario Kwon Alemika, and I'll be your instructor. I'll be your instructor for class two classes. Okay. So today we'll just quickly pick up finish up what we started last week. Sorry, yesterday, and and then we'll move to what we actually have today. All right. So let's all just turn on our systems and be ready because of course I'll be calling on us randomly to share our systems and to share our works and to our screens to show what we're doing. Okay, so let's do that ASAP. I believe we should have done that. Okay, so Absalam, Mustafa, Fela, Bidemi, and Tenila. Stefan is here. Oh, Stefan, you're not at home. Okay, so will you is that like temporarily or are you going home now? So maybe in the next few minutes you'll be able or throughout the class you may not be at home. But regardless, you can just follow us, okay? I can understand that for now. Okay, so how about you, Teniola, Absalam, Mustafa?
Yeah, I'm on my laptop.
Okay, good. Have you been able to get an external mouse?
No, not yet.
Okay, yeah, I think you can still manage right now. So how about you, Mustafa, Absalam, Bidemi?
Yeah, my laptop.
My laptop is on. My laptop is on.
Okay, Bidemi, how about you? Okay, Stefan, we can understand now. Hello, Bidemi, is he there? Or is she there? Welcome, Abdulrazak. Welcome. Okay, so without much ado, let's begin. So I'll start sharing my screen right now. Before we begin, let's quickly talk about the assignment. I've seen quite a few reactions on this group, so I don't know. It seems we're having a bit of difficulty with that, or is there any issue that we're having? So I can quickly address that before we begin. Please, ASAP. Hello. Did you hear what I said? Hello. Is anybody there? Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. We can hear you.
Okay,
Yes, I
so I
can
asked
hear
the
you, Mike.
question. Yeah, I asked the question. Has anybody faced any issue with the assignment?
No, I've done mine. I've done mine. There's no issue.
Okay, you've done yours, right, Mustafa?
Yes, yes, yes.
So have you submitted it? I've no. I
No,
don't think I've seen
I haven't submit. I'll submit now.
it. Yeah, keep considering.
I haven't
Well,
submit. I've done it.
okay. What about Teniola? Denny? Tenio? Absalam? How about you?
Yeah, I'm not done with mine. I'm currently working on it.
Okay. Stefan? How about you? And Abdul Razak?
Evening. I haven't done mine yet. I have a tutorial downloaded, so I want to rewatch and start over again.
Okay. How about you, Stefan? Okay, still working on it. Alright, cool. Um, Fela, were you able to do the assignment too?
Not yet. I'm still watching the recorded video. So when I'm done, but I did the last assignment already.
Okay,
But I
all
was yet
right.
to submit. But I'll just submit the two together.
All right, submit that. Although you'll be penalized for late submission, but yeah, let's just submit. That's it. Okay, so let's begin. Um,
I've
today's class.
uploaded it already. I just upload it now.
Sorry.
I said I just upload the assignments now, like to the drive.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll check it out after the class.
All right.
Okay. All right. Give me a second. Okay. So let's begin. So yeah, last class we were talking about the modifiers, right? Started with the modifiers. We spoke about. I just added it. We spoke about the array modifier, and we spoke about the subdivision modifier, right? And that's what we used to. Maybe I should just open the last classes. Okay. So it was the modifiers that we used to create. I hope you can all see my screen, please.
Yes, I can.
All right, good. Okay, so it was the modifiers that we used to create this jet engine that we're using. We don't have enough time. I would have I would have loved that we model the entire plane, maybe an entire Boeing 747 or the entire plane, not just the jet engine now. But I understand, and I'll be very lenient with us, so we make do with just the jet engine for now. Okay. So maybe on your own time when you're practicing or something, you can try to model the entire plane. It's not really a big deal. It's not you don't really think of things as if they're quite difficult. It just break it down. Model the tire, model the landing gears, that's the tires, they model the cockpit, they model the entire general shape and try to shrink it. If over time you find out that it's quite easy to get things done, to get things modeled. So there's something I wanted to mention yesterday. Now you might be wondering, because I said you should not transform in any object mode. But what if, let's say, for example, your entire model, everything, maybe the torus, this, and everything, they are too small, and you want to make it bigger, you want to make it smaller, or you want to move it from one place to the other. You might think, okay, now that you're not supposed to transform in edit mode, how are you going to do that? If it's just moving from one place to another, you can actually do that. If you're doing that, make sure you move everything in the same, so it won't really mess with your work. Or if you have if you must move only things that have modifiers on, make sure you move everything that involves the modifier. So let's say, for example, the array modifier and the array modifier was added to this fan blade, right? The array modifier is still here, right? And we are using this object, the cone, as the object offset, right? So if you want to, let's say you want to rotate this on the x-axis now, you have to select both of them. Select both of them, not just, you can't just select only this one and rotate it on the, let's say, z-axis. It will misbehave. And you can't just take only this and rotate it on the z-axis. It also misbehave or something like that. So you have to select both of them at the same time. Now you see that the fan blade and the cone, that's the inlet cone stuff is actually selected too. So you can now rotate both of them on the z-axis, and you see that it preserves your whole thing. Maybe it rotates. You can actually do whatever you want to. You can move it from one place to another, and you won't have all those issues. Okay, so you might not really have too much issues with most of the modifiers, but with array modifier, you likely have issues of moving like that if you select just one of the just one of the objects if you are using object offset. Okay, so that's just something to have in mind. So also yesterday we modeled the staircase. It's not okay. So model the staircase. I don't think we needed this empty. Model the staircase using the array modifier, just the array modifier now. And this is our staircase. And this class, we're supposed to talk about just one more modifier yesterday, which is the bevel modifier. And the bevel modifier is just like the name implies, it bevels your object. And, I told you that in the real world, you hardly have things that have these extremely sharp edges like that. Things that have, I don't know, just extremely sharp edges. Like the edges are not really knife edges like that, unless it is meant for cutting. Okay, so and that's by design actually from the manufacturers. Because if things are too sharp, you find out that you get injured most of the time, and your product will likely be rejected by consumers. Because imagine picking up a small box and you cut yourself or something. It's not very desirable. So likewise, if you want to create that effect in Blender, there's a modifier you can use for that. Apart from, you can use the subdivision surface modifier, but the subdivision surface will rounding everything, right? It will rounding everything in a very, like, in a more aggressive form. But to do it in a subtle form, such that only the edges are beveled, like this. I want to zoom to the edge here. Only this edge it will not appear so sharp. It will be somewhat slightly beveled, like name it, like to be chamfered, to be dull. It will be it's to you to dull, to make the edge dull. You understand? So what you can do is add the bevel modifier. So you come here. It's also in the modifiers tab. So you come to this range icon and you select the add modifier, the drop down, and you look for the bevel. Okay, so this is the bevel modifier. You can see it's the preview is showing you what it does. Okay, and you can actually just read the description. It says it generates slopes, slopes. It slopes corners, right? So if we add the bevel, you can see that immediately it looks somewhat flattened, right? It's the same thing that will happen if you had. Let me remove the bevel modifier now. And let me go into edit mode of this. Okay. If you had done the beveling manually, like you select a particular edge, you come close to the particular edge, and Control B to bevel. So give me a second. Let me add the screencast keys. Okay. Screencast keys. Okay. Sorry. If you're wondering how I usually bring this out, N is the shortcut key for the properties panel. Okay. So N to toggle it on and off, and for this tool shelf, T to bring it in and out. Okay. To toggle, bring it in and out. Or you can just tag it. Where there's a small arrow there, I can just drag it out. Okay. Same thing for here. You can just drag it out. Sorry. This. Make sure you're clicking on the small arrow now. I drag it out. Okay. It's a matter of choice. All right. So that's that. You can just select a single edge and Control B to bevel it. Control B bevels. You can see how it flattens the edge, right? Control B, and it flattens the edge. So what this does is the same thing that modifier does, that bevel modifier, but instead of only one edge, to do it to the entire object. Okay. So look at in this case, only this edge is flattened. Let me go to object mode and add the modifier. Let's see, bevel modifier. Now I notice that it's added to everything, even to the corners, the back, everything, all the sides. It added the bevel, and you can actually this one it's a lot better because you can. Let me close this drop down. It's a lot better because you have access to a lot more options here. So you can, now it's been beveled by just one segment. You can increase the amount of segments, so that rather than having it flat, it's somewhat getting more round. You can increase this, go crazy with this. I advise not to go too high, of course, because the more geometries you have, of course. Or you can reduce it how big the beveling is. Okay, so that offset you can just make this. You can see it's getting higher, or you can reduce it slightly. Okay, do you understand what I mean? So you can just make it just slightly. All right, and maybe if you want it to be rounded, more rounded, you can just scale this up. And then we spoke about smooth shading and flat shading, because as of right now, it's looking flat, as if it's been flatly sanded. Okay, so but if you want it to be rounded, more round, or to have that really round look, so you can just shade flat, the shade smooth rather. Okay, shade smooth. Now you can see that it's looking rounded, it's looking well rounded. All right. So So that's that about. That's really much pretty much that about the bevel modifier. You can play around with the settings to see what you want. Now you can make the angle of the bevel slightly slope even more. Let me go. Let me shade flat so you can see it. Let me maybe I reduce this to one back. Okay. So watch the angle now. You can actually just um, change the angle to meet your taste. It's all about choices. Then there are other options here, but these are options that are quite kind of slightly advanced. You may not really need to bother with them unless you need to. You can just play around with them. It's more or less a preference. Okay. Me generally, personally, I don't use the bevel modifier as much. I don't use it because when I use the subdivision surface modifier, it kind of does something similar to what the bevel dome modifier does. And if the edges are too, if the all the edges and vertices are too rounded, I'll just crease them rather than add the bevel modifier. Okay, so that's that. Um, so now let's go to today's class. Um, I'm I'm having a conflict of. I'm thinking maybe your assignments should. Okay, I'll save that. All right. So your assignment for today will be a staircase, but not this staircase. This staircase is way too simple for you guys. Right. So we'll do something slightly more complex. Okay. So let me open a new folder. That's Control N to open a new folder, and I'll just select general. Okay. And since I don't want to save any changes. Okay. Can we all hear me? It's quite quiet.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good. All right, Stefan. Okay. So um we spoke about we today's class we'll be talking about some new type of objects, right? So I in the last class we spoke about the sorry in the previous class I spoke about the different object types. But now I talk about camera, speakers. Speakers, everything here is just like the name implies. Okay, so it's exactly what it is. But in this class we'll be talking about two more objects, right? Talking about the text object. I will talking about the curve object. Okay. So curve object is just like name implies. It's when you want to add something like a curve into your scene. Okay. So you want to add a curve, and the reason why the way curves behave in Blender is slightly different from the way meshes behave. Say if you have mesh now and you add a mesh, you can go into edit mode. You have the vertices, the edges, and everything. You start manipulating everything. Sorry, start manipulating everything. Start doing whatever you want. Okay. But if you have a curve and you add a curve, there are different options here. And again, you might not have all these full options, or you may. Okay, you may or you may not have all these full options. I think I enabled an add-on that gave me some more options, but most likely you have some of these full options by default. So the major kind of all of them behave the same way. Okay, so just know that all of them behave similarly or likely the same way, except this part and just minor differences between the way they behave. So let me start with the first one, the Bezier curve. Okay, this is pronounced Bezier or Bezier if you like, or it's pronounced Bezier. So if you add it, it will just look like a noodle or a bacteria, something like that. That's how it look like in your scene. And I wonder what's this. And as it is now, you can't really do much, so you have to go into the edit mode. And just like the mesh objects, curve objects also have edit mode. Okay, and usually their edit mode is much more aggressive than um, than mesh object because in mesh you can actually still do some scaling and this thing, but in object mode you of a curve if you are scaling you can only reduce the size. You can't really tweak some parts of it. All right, so so what you want to do is go into the edit mode and it's to bring up some handles here. Okay, so these two handles I brought up, and these handles are how you can tweak the curve. If you use Photoshop a bit, I don't know why I'm making a lot of reference to Photoshop, but if you use Photoshop or usually some picture editing tools, you likely understand a bit of how these handles work. The handles are you can just grab maybe one edge and you tweak to change the shape of the change the shape of the curve, okay, to suit your need. And you might be wondering, why do we need curves? Curves can make your work like 20 times faster. Say for example, I wanted to create a spiral stairs, right? This spiral staircase. Look at this spiral staircase. I wanted to make this the railings, right? Now, if I wanted to model that, it would be quite. If I wanted to model that in mesh mode, in the using mesh, it would be very much cumbersome. But if you are using curves, you can just take a curve and use it to trace that path, the spiral path. Once you trace the spiral path, you can now add the geometry to it. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. So if you um can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah.
All right. So like I was saying, if you wanted to add a geometry to if you wanted to add a geometry to the curve, now as the curve looks like now, it's looking like a noodle. But if you wanted to add geometry to make it to give it thickness, what you can do is you just come to the modifiers panel. You come to the sorry, you come to this icon that looks like a noodle. That's how the curve. That's the properties panel of the curve. Now, if you are in object mode, you will not have something like this. It varies for different kinds of objects. So let me add a cube so you can see what I mean. Let's scale this down. Okay, so now I have a cube selected. You notice that instead of that curve stuff, I have something like a triangle to show that it has vertices like that, vertices, edges, and faces, right? So that's to show you that it's a different kind of object, and the options there will be different from what you have if you had a curve object selected. So you can see that the options are different. All right. So now if you wanted to add geometry to a curve, what you do is you come to geometry under this you have this icon selected, then come to geometry. Okay, so you can do anything you want. There are options to maybe extrude it. Okay, I've given it you can you've basically created a wall out of the curve, or can come here. I mean, if you want to make it solid, because this one is just flat right now. If you wanted to make it solid, you come to this depth option. Okay, depth, and you can start increasing the depth. Okay, so now you have something that looks like, I don't know what this looks like though, but okay, so you can actually have the flexibility to do whatever you want. Yes, you can create a pipe network. Yeah, if you wanted to make like a pipe network or something like that, the fastest way to do that is using curves. Because if you wanted to do this in object mode, what you likely want to do first, you want to add maybe a cylinder. Okay, let me bring it out. The cylinder, then go to object mode. You scale the cylinder while excluding the z-axis so that it still be the same height. Sorry, scale shift Z. So to scale on both x and y axis and exclude only the z axis. So you make it very as thin as possible. So you have a pipe. They now start maybe extruding this. Extrude. Then I don't know. It's kind of very cumbersome. So just if you want to make a pipe network, okay. But if you wanted to do that with using curves, all you have to do is add the curve. Okay, let me add another curve for reference. Let me add it here. The curve. Let me add the base here. Okay. All you have to do is have a curve. You'll be going to the top view. And just like you can extrude in mesh mode, you can also extrude in curves too. So just select one of the vertices that you want to extrude, or all of the vertices you want to extrude, then extrude, and it creates another one. Notice that this handle is still there. This handle is also still there. Then you select this, you can extrude and go crazy with it. Maybe you rotate, you grab. Now you can scale down the handle to make the edge sharper. Okay, so now the edges will appear smooth. You can scale down. As I scale it down, it's as if it's making the edge sharper. I rotate it, just go crazy with it. As in, you can create any shape. It's kind of endless. Just your imagination is your limit. And rotate it and do whatever you want with it. Right? And when you are done with the shape you want, you can come here and you give it a bit of depth. Okay, so you come to this depth here and increase the depth. Now you see that as I increase the depth, is the pipe is getting bigger, and it's hollow actually. It's hollow. The pipe is getting bigger. Now, another beauty of this is that you can actually convert after you're done with the shape of the curve. You can convert it into a mesh. Okay, you can convert curves into meshes. You can actually convert meshes into curves too, but it's a little bit more tricky. But I'll show you both ways though. You can convert from one of the to the other. So if you want to convert, you just make sure you're in object mode. You right click on the curve, and you see convert to. Okay, once you right click to bring up these options for the curve, and you see convert to. Now when you convert to, you have curves, mesh, grease pencil. Forget about the grease pencil. It's beyond the scope of this tutorial. I won't be talking about it. You hardly will ever use it though. So you can convert to mesh. I can convert to curve. It's like a vice versa thing. You can convert from curve to mesh. You can convert from mesh to curve. Okay. So now what we have here is a curve, and you just convert the curve to a mesh. You can't convert a curve to a curve. Nothing happens basically. So convert a curve to a mesh if you like, and when you convert that to a mesh, everything you lose all the flexibility of a curve that you don't have handles anymore. If you go to edit mode, you don't have handles. Instead, you have actual vertices of a mesh. Okay, you have actual vertices, and everything is kind of the same rules of meshes apply when you're modeling meshes. All right. So if you don't understand something I'm saying, please interrupt me and cut me so I can explain better. Okay, so that's just it. Let me undo quite a few times to go back to our curve. So we're back to the curve now. What I did was I just undo all the steps that I did. I undid all the steps that I did. All right, so yeah, moving on. There are several other options with the curve. Now, another thing that you should know about the curve is if you had a curve, by default it will look plain of, but there are actual arrows, handles. Let me bring up the normals. They are called normals. Okay, I think it's here. Okay, good. So it's by default it's been unticked. So if you come down here, you can tick it to bring up the normals. These arrows, and you'll be wondering what's the use of the arrows. Now, there's another powerful thing about curves. You can use curves in animation to like trace out the path that you want something to go by. So let's say if you have I may not know this. There's this toy train that moves around the track that I don't know, some privileged people played with when they're younger. Like it's a toy train. The tracks it has a predefined track that you can just move around. So you can do something like that in Blender. All you have to do is you take the object, maybe let's say this is the cube. You want this cube to move around a path. Let's say a specific path, maybe a circular path or whichever, or a zigzag path. So you just select the cube and you place it at the end, one end. Let's say this end here. Okay, good. So if you want to place this cube, make sure the origin of the cube lines up exactly with the end, or else it may have an offset. Okay, it will still work, but it will have an offset. All right. So to do that, in I think 2 classes ago, I was talking about snapping the target. That's the cursor rather. That's this bullseye target looking stuff. That was snapping it to anywhere. Now this is where you likely be needing it a lot, because if you want to bring this cube now to this particular point, I can guarantee you that you never get the point if you move in manually. Let's say you take this, you grab it up, you try to match it, then go to whichever view, try to match it, come here, try to match it to that endpoint. I can guarantee you that you never get it. The easiest way to do that is to just select the point that you want to, the point that you want to snap it to, then press Shift S, then you snap the cursor to that point. Okay, so now the bullseye is at that point. Now you now go into the object mode and select the cube or whatever you want to snap to any other point. And select that. Then you press Shift S again, and then you now snap the selected to cursor. Okay. Make sure you have this one, the one that says keep offsets, or else it will just collapse everything into a point. Okay. So just say keep selection to cursor. Okay. And if you do that, it automatically snap into the exact origin. Okay. So now if you do that, notice that the this arrowhead, they are like kind of tracing, they are pointing towards a particular point, towards a particular direction. So if you wanted, imagine this cube was a train now, and you wanted the train to move along this path, all you do, I'll just briefly mention it because we won't be talking too much on animation, but maybe, and the animation comes much later in the class or in the series. So I'll just speak on it briefly. Don't worry if you don't understand it too well. I'll talk about it more in later classes. Okay. So we just take this animation, this cube, and you select it. You select the curve last, and then you press Control P. Now I'll explain parenting now. Immediately after this, Control P, and you see it will bring up parent options, right? Now what you're looking for is follow path. Okay. So if you select follow path, it will seem as if nothing happened. But if you press the play, that's the space button on your keyboard, you see that it's following that path. Now, not doing anything, it's following by itself. Okay. So you can just bring your cursor back. So this is your playhead actually, just like you're having your any media player. The same thing applies. There's play, pause, stop, all this kind of thing. Okay. So if I should press play, and see, with just a few clicks of button, I've created a path. Now, if you wanted to animate this motion manually without using curves, okay, if you wanted to animate it, it's going to be a pain in the neck. What you have to do is you take because the way animation works in Blender, okay. Sorry, I'm speaking quite a bit about animation. The way animation works in Blender is if I want to animate this object falling, there are a few ways of it. But okay, let's say if I want to animate this object moving from one point to this point, what I do is you go in your timeline, okay, at frame 0, for example, you select this object, you now insert a keyframe, okay. Now you take the object, you drag it to this point. Now you scroll over to frame, I don't know, maybe frame 100, okay. Then now add another keyframe. So if you now play that, it's now animate that this object is moving from this place to another. That's the basis of animation in Blender. So that's how to animate Blender. So if you wanted to animate the cube moving around in that side, you actually need to start animating. Okay, you take this from animate keyframe, then turn it again, keyframe, turn it again, keyframe, as in like that. It's going to be very much cumbersome. But if you had a curve, all you have to do is just print the curve, and it will automatically trace out that path. Okay. So that's another very important feature about curves. Okay, so there are a lot of settings that we won't talk too much about a lot of these settings now. We'll talk about them also in subsequent classes. But after the settings that you've known now are the essentials, the basic essentials. So all the names are as implied. Extrude, like I said, extrude is what extrude is. You can, if you extrude this, to just make the plane, it will just turn the curve rather than being a curve into like a plane, something like like a plane basically. So with what I'm been saying, I'm sure you might be wondering, if those of you that are actually quite creative will have start having an idea of, okay, we'll be able to use this to create the spiral step that I was showing you earlier. How we can use this to create the spiral step. Okay, and if you still remember, if you still view with your knowledge of array, you understand how we can use the arrays to create the spiral steps. Okay, yesterday what we did was just a straight, normal staircase. But if you wanted to create like a spiral step, I'm sure some of us will have an idea of how to do that with the array now. Okay, so we'll be doing that right now though. So let me just do everything, and we'll get started on the first exercise for today, which is this spiral step. Okay, we'll be creating the spiral step using our knowledge of curve modifiers. Curves. There's a curve modifier, but won't be talking about them in this class. our knowledge of curves and our knowledge of array modifiers. Because please bear in mind that in subsequent classes, what we'll be talking about, we'll be using the knowledge of things we've learned in the previous classes. So I'll just in subsequent classes, I will just assume that you've understood the concept that we discussed in previous classes, and we'll just be building on ignorance. Okay. Okay, so I want to bring my cursor back to the center, because I told that anything you add to your scene will appear at the point of this cursor. Okay, at the point wherever this cursor is. So Shift C will bring your cursor back to the center. Now I said I was going to talk about parents earlier. I don't know if we spoke about parents in the first class. Okay, no, we didn't. Okay, I remember we didn't. But let me talk about parents shortly. So to explain parents, basically, if I should add, let's say we have a monkey head, and since we've spoken about subdivision surface, let's make our monkey head smoother. Okay, first of all, I right click to make it to shade it smooth. Okay, and we can add subdivision surface to make it more. Oh, it's looking cuter right now. It's looking cuter. So let me kind of increase it a bit, just one. Okay, so this is our monkey head. This looks like a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention names. Okay, so that's just on lighter mode. So if I had a monkey head, and I have, I don't know, let's say the monkey head is sitting on a box. Okay, so I've added a cube. Let me bring the cube downward. Please don't. You notice that if I'm not doing anything too particular about any object, I'm actually transforming in object mode. That's actually allowed, but it's all dependent on you. Okay. So the monkey head, let me rotate the monkey head. Let me make the monkey head be sitting on this cube. Okay, Suzanne is sitting on this cube. Okay, it's looking like Indiana Jones lost movie I watched some time ago. Okay, so let's just make it a little bit, grab on the z-axis slightly. Okay, so the monkey head is sitting on a cube right now. What if we wanted to move the cube, the monkey head and the cube to this side, okay, or wanted to increase the size of both the monkey head and the cube? One way you can do that is you could just select this and select this, two of them, and increase the size, okay, or you select this, you move them to the other side. But if imagine you have a complex scene, maybe you have like 24 monkey heads on something, 3 cylinders, all those things are so there are a lot of things that you need to, if you wanted to select them, you start selecting one by one, it can be cumbersome. There's something called child-parent relationship, and just like the name implies, you parent, you make a group of objects to be like follower to another object. That's just how it implies. So if I know that the easiest one to select, or the one that I will just select and transform is, let's say this box is like the biggest object here, and if I wanted to, let's move this, I can just move this around. So and I want it to be able to move all the other smaller objects like this monkey heads too. This monkey head, I want to move it. While anytime I select this and do anything to it, I want to move this too. And at the same time, I don't want to make two of them the same object, because you can actually bring two of them to be the same object, to you join two of them together as the same object. So if you go into edit mode of so if like to join two objects together, let me just tell you that now. To join two objects together is you select the two of them, then you press Ctrl J. Now I notice that when I press Ctrl J, it's as if when I select it, both of them are selected at the same time. That means two of them are the same object. They are under the same objects now. And if I go to edit mode, both of them will go into the edit mode, not just one. Okay. Now please bear in mind they are still somewhat separate in their own geometry. So if I should press L for island select, it will not select the box. Okay. So they are still somewhat separate, but they are under the same object. Okay. Blender recognizes the whole thing as just one object. So if you don't want that, if you don't want to make them the same objects, let me Ctrl Z a few times to separate them. But you want them to still, you want the transform of one to still affect the other, you parent them. And how do you parent? You just select one or the children first. It's like the ones that you want to be grouped under the other first. you select them first. Then you now select the parent, the one that will be the head, the one that you'll be selecting and making the transform on. You make it you select it the last. Okay, so I want this box to be the parent, so I'll just select the box last, and I'll now press Control P for parent. That's just what key for parent. Control P. Okay, so I can just the same all of these do they're generally the same thing. For for now, let me just talk about objects. So if I press objects, okay, so I've made this parent, made the monkey head a child of this box. Okay, so anything I do to this box now, it's just the same thing will be applied to this to the monkey head. So if I move this box now, let's say I move it from point A to point B, you can see that the monkey head is following it. Now, please bear in mind that in this case, I can still actually individually move the monkey head. So I can move the monkey head on its own. Now, you notice that when I move it, there's like a dotted line, a black dotted line, showing that this object is still parented to this. Okay, so I've moved the monkey head here. It's offset. Now I can still move this and it will still follow everything relatively, but I can move the monkey head independently. So that's the power of um, parent and child relationship, depending on how you want it. Okay, so I just needed to mention that parent and child. You will likely be using that if you want each object to maintain their independence, but you want any transform, because you might forget if you have like 300 different individual objects here and you wanted to scale everything, you need to start selecting everything one by one. And you might leave one object out. Then after you've gone so far in the period, you're not like, oh, the transform or the whatever you've done did not affect the one of the objects, and that can be frustrating, trust me. So you just group, if you want to group objects, use child parent relationships generally. Okay, so it's a bit too quiet in this class. I'm having some concerns. Okay, are you guys hearing me at all?
Yes, yes, we are hearing you.
Hello.
We are hearing you.
Hello.
Yes,
My worry exactly.
yes, I can.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Hello. I feel like I'm talking to myself.
We can hear you. I think it's your network.
Your network, we can hear you from here.
Hello, Abdusalam, Mustafa.
Hello, we can hear you.
Mustafa, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Daniela, Stefan, Fela. Who else is here? Yeah, Mubarak and Abdurazak. Wow, it seems you guys were sleeping. Okay, now, okay, I can see your hands. All right, Mustafa, I can see Fela, I can see Abdurazak. Okay, Stefan, you're raising your hand. Okay, good. Okay, all right, okay, that's good. Okay, I felt as if I was talking to myself. But do you understand what I'm talking about? Okay, we'll be beginning the exercise shortly. I just wanted to mention some things about those. All right, good. Okay, good. Mubarak. Okay, good. All right, Teniola, how about you? Everybody else has indicated that they can hear me. Tenny.
Hello, yes, I can.
Okay. All right. And okay, Abdulsalam, I believe you also raised your hands that you can hear me, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So moving on now. So now we understand what child-parent relationships are. So let me delete everything and we'll start with the exercise for today. Okay. So let me minimize this. The Okay. So our exercise for today is this staircase. Like I said, this spiral staircase. Okay. So first thing that you look at, like I said, if you have any project like this, don't be overwhelmed by maybe the event looks big or something. No, you try to break it down. What's the components that make up this entire object? Just look at it. There's like a central pole, okay, a central pole, and what's the central pole? What basic shape does it look like the most? It's basically a cylinder, and there's no rocket science to it actually. It's just a cylinder, right? Okay, so what else? There's this. There are the steps themselves, the individual steps that make up the staircase. The the steps are basically a cube that are flattened up, and then they are stretched out, just like the way we made the the fan blades for the jet engine yesterday. So something similar to that. And then what else? The railings, right? Now the railings look like a snake, like a spiral stuff. And now I have something like a spiral, a snake, or stuff like that. You can actually your mind can just go to the curve. Okay, so you can just use the curve to do that, to create that. Okay, what else? There are some vertical poles. So this is just literally nothing but spirals. That's the curves, and a cube and a cylinder. Literally, that's just all this is. That's just all to this staircase. Okay, so let's try to recreate the staircase together, and um we'll see. Let's just go dive into it. All right. So I believe we all have our systems on. So I want you to be following me and try to do what I'm doing on your system too, because I can call anybody to see if you're following. Okay, please have that in mind. Now, firstly, let's just add the central core. That's the central pole. That's the cylinder, right? What is cylinder? Yeah, what is cylinder? Okay, this central pole, this black central pole. That's what I'm trying to add. Okay, a cylinder. So we know that the pole is like very tall and it's quite slimmer than this. So we can scale it on shift or scale it on its on its sides. Okay, so that's excluding the z-axis. So you scale on shift, you press shift z to exclude the z-axis, and then it will reduce the size on x and y axis. That's the other side. Notice that they were highlighted when I pressed that. Okay, so you can now scale it on the only the z-axis now. Notice the first thing I did was I scaled it on um the I scaled it excluding the z-axis. Now I'm scaling exclusively on the z-axis. Okay, you can do it anyhow you like it. There's no rule about it. Just make a pole that is slim and tall. Okay, so just increase it maybe about this height. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, you can see it later if you want. So we've made the central pole. Okay, we made this central pole. Now what should we let's focus on how to make the what do you call it, the the individual steps of the staircase next. Okay, so the individual steps of the staircase, they have like a they have like a fan look, but they are like narrower on one side and bigger on the other side because the thing is twisting. Okay, so let me do that right quickly. So if the shape most resembles is cube, right? We'll start with a cube, so we can just add in a cube. Shift A to add a cube. Add a cube. Okay. So I've added a cube now. Notice I'm in object mode before I added the cube. Okay. So I've added the cube now. You can actually add mesh while you're still in a mesh mode. So I went to edit mode. Okay. I'm in edit mode of this cube right now. I can actually still add different things. I can add another cube, bring this cube out, or add a cylinder. Okay, I don't know, you can add as many things. Okay, but whenever I go back to object mode, just know that Blender will recognize everything as one single object. Okay, it will recognize everything as one single object. So if you should select maybe even just the monkey head, you select everything, and then um to manipulate everything. Okay, so there are sometimes where you might want this, sometimes you might not want that. So um it's all a matter of preference. Okay, so now let's go into edit mode. Now to make the cube look like this, one of these individual steps of the staircase, you can scale it on the z-axis. Okay, so it's flat, but we want to make it longer now, so we can just scale it on the x-axis. Okay, slightly longer. I think this is okay, maybe a little bit longer. Okay, good. Okay, so it's still too thick for my liking, so let's just make it shorter. And I think this is okay. Notice what I'm doing. I'm scaling. I press S to scale on the z-axis. Okay, I'm tapping Z. So when I press S, it's going to scale the whole thing. But when I tap Z, it's going to constrain that scaling on the z-axis. Okay, only the vertical axis. All right. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, good. So now still in object mode. Bear in mind, I'm still in object mode. I can just move this on the x-axis because the steps are like they're like offset on one side of the pole. Okay, so I cannot twist it and make the steps, the progression of the steps go higher. Okay, so they are at the side of the plane. All right. So now also you notice that for the steps, it's like one side is smaller than the other. All right. So we're going to let me view from the top. That's I tap 7 to go to view from top view, to have the top view. Then I'll go into the wireframe Z and wire wireframe. Okay. So I can just select everything here on one side, because this is the inward side is the one that is smaller. So I'll just scale it on the y-axis. Okay, notice I'm specifying that I'm scaling on the y-axis, because if you just simply scale, it's going to scale on all its sides. Okay, but all I
I'm
wanted to
sorry,
do is I
your
don't
screen
I
is
only want to
free.
scale it on this green axis. That's the y-axis. Okay, so now that I've done that, yeah. So basically we have. Yeah, I think it's okay for me. Good. Now we select the staircase itself. This, or let's make the staircase even more fancy. Okay, so if you look at this, it has like some support underneath it. All right, so let's account for that too. So let's go into the edit mode of this staircase. Right?
Elemayo,
Yes.
sorry to call you back. Please, how did you get the shape of that stairs? The cube that you scaled down.
Okay, this cube. Yeah, all I was doing was scaling. Okay, I was scaling on specific axis. Okay, so if you're with us in the first few classes, you understand that I mentioned that think of the entire world like three axes, like a graph book. Okay, in
Okay.
your graph book, you know you have your x-axis and your y-axis. Taking us back to secondary school mathematics, you know you have your x-axis and your y-axis, right? Now
Yes.
in the 3D world, there's a third axis. That's the z-axis, and that's the axis that gives things the geometry. So when you're talking about the graph book, things are just flat on a 2D face, on a flat surface. So if something is tall, this thing is going on the y-axis. If something is going this way, this thing is going on the z-axis. So a cube-like object here. I can say this thing is 2 units tall on the x-axis, 2 units tall on the y-axis, and maybe 3 units tall on the z-axis, or something like that. Okay. So
Okay.
that's the concept of the three axes that we have now. Now, so what I was doing is I was scaling. And I told you shortcut key for scale is S, right? Shortcut
Yes.
key for scale is S. Now let me go into edit mode so you can see properly. Let me even delete it so I'll start again. All right. So Shift
Okay.
A was what I used to add a cube.
Okay.
I added the cube. I added a cube, right? So we have a cube now. Now I'm pressing tab to go into the edit mode of the cube. Okay. I told you if
Okay.
you are trying to manipulate the object, maybe modifying the object, you likely want to do that in the edit mode, so it won't mess up the origins of your object. Okay. So now I edit
Yes.
mode of the cube. So what I'm doing now is I'm scaling the cube. I'm pressing scale, but I don't want the whole. If I press scale now, it's going to make the cube smaller or bigger, whichever way. But that's not what I want. I want to do. I want to flatten the cube. Okay. And now
Yes.
if you follow the reference angle, uh the reference coordinates here. This up here is it will show you the reference. So the green axis is the y-axis. It's labeled there. The red axis is the x-axis, and the blue one is the z-axis. That's the vertical axis. Okay. Let me just bring
Okay.
up the move gizmo so we'll be able to follow along with the object. Okay. So if I click on this move gizmo here, it will bring up the reference on the object itself rather than you having to look up here every time. Okay.
Okay.
So now you notice that they all correspond. The red is with the x-axis, and whenever I move this, watch what happens to the top part to the gizmo two. It's also following that reference. It's also moving relatively. Okay. So it's showing that it's just following basically kind of like a compass. Okay. You know, no matter how you turn, the compass will still maintain its position to the north. All right.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly, something similar. So now what I want to do is I want to squash the cube, make it smaller on the z-axis, right? So how do I do
Okay.
that? I scale it. I'm going to scale it but I'm going to constrain that scaling on the vertical axis. So it's going to only get smaller on only the vertical axis. So when I press S to scale, immediately I'll now press Z, okay, to constrain the scaling to the Z axis. So anytime I scale now, it's only going to be scaling on the Z axis. Can you see that?
Yes.
Can you see that? Do
Okay,
you understand
yes.
that?
Yes, I got it here.
Exactly. So the same principle is what I'm going to use. Now it has been scaled on the Z axis. It's flat. Let's say, let me make it even flatter. Okay. Let's say this. Okay. This is flat enough to my satisfaction, but it's not. It's still looking like a square. Like it just looks like a square mat or a square tile. I want to make it longer. What do? I'm going to scale it. I'm going to scale it on the on the y axis. I can even use this x axis, whichever axis. I'm just going to make it longer, basically. Okay. So what do? I
Okay.
look for any axis that I want, maybe the x-axis or the y-axis. Notice that either of the two will work, but although it's just meaning that they are on different orientations. Okay. So I'll
Okay.
just press S and I'll specify Y. I'll just tap Y for the y-axis. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Now it is increasing and decreasing only on that axis. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, good. So, yeah, one way to notice that is if you press S and if you are doing anything and you tap the axis to constrain the axis, the axis will be highlighted. Just watch this scene now and tell me what you specifically, fella, tell me what axis you think is highlighted. I'll tell you what I press. What axis is highlighted?
God, stop calling me now. Waiting.
Okay. So let's say
Yes.
if I wanted to remove this, I'll just say grab on maybe Shift Z. Now, which axis is which two axes are highlighted?
This is. I know X is highlighted here. X and Y.
X and Y. Good, excellent. So that's just something you eventually get used to it, because using this, you cannot not use this in Blender. You cannot not do that. So I can assure you, you get used to it. So I don't even most time I hardly ever even look up here for the references. So I just know what I'm doing by heart. So the more you model, the more practice you do, you get flexible with this. Okay, Teniola, are you following us? Tenny?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you get what I just explained?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You'll be sharing your screen shortly. Everyone will be sharing their screen shortly, so that we can follow along with what everybody's doing. Okay. So please have that in mind. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm scaling on the y-axis, like I said. I chose the y-axis. I can actually do this on the x-axis too. Scale on the x-axis. Java will just make it have the desired shape that you want. Okay. So now I have the basic shape, but I want this. I want the inner part to be smaller than the outside part. Let me even move it to let me move it somewhere here. Okay. Yeah, I think this is good enough. So what I want is I want the inner part, these two sides. I want it to be smaller than this outer part, because we are making a spiral stair, so it's going to be um like if they are the same size, there will be a conflict. People will trip when they are moving. Okay, so we don't want that. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select the two. Let me go to the top view. I tap number 7 on my keyboard to go to the top view. Okay, I'm going to select this. I'm not going to select this. I'm going to go to wireframe so I can select this, because if I select this now, there's a chance that it won't exactly. You need to select the two bottom ones. Okay, so let me go to number 7. I'm going to wireframe. I'm going to select everything. Okay, now notice that I just click. All I did was click and drag, and it will select everything in that bounding box. Okay, so to scale this, notice that I'm not just going to press S and scale. Okay, because if I press S and scale, maybe even to this, you notice that it's also scaled it on its vertical axis, but that's not what I want. I don't want it to sharpen it per se. I just want to reduce the size on a particular axis. That's the x-axis. Okay. So let me undo that. Control to undo. Let me go back to top view. And if I'm scaling now, I'll scale on the y-axis. That's the green axis to make it specific. Okay. So it's not too much. I just not too much. Just subtle. Make it subtle. So I think this is okay. And by my own observation, the steps, the step of the staircase is a little bit bigger. It's a little bit too big for the pole, so I'm going to reduce the size. So I'm going to select everything and scale it down a little bit. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to move it to touch the pole. All right. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. So you can decide to go to object mode. So I'll just go to object mode now, and I'll add the array modifier. Okay. I'll add the array modifier. Did everyone follow along to this point now? Hello?
Yes.
Can everyone follow along to this point?
Yes.
What's wrong, Mustafa? Are you're not seeing my screen, or what's the problem particularly?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? Yes, I was unable to see it before, but I just log in and log in back, so I'm not seeing it.
Oh, sorry. So you're back now, Mubarak? It seems you
Yes,
logged off and
I'm
logged
back
in.
now.
All right, good. Mubarak, have you been following us since with what we've been doing since? Hello, Mubarak. Okay. How about you, Stefan?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on now. We'll proceed. All right. So what I'll be doing, like just the same way we did yesterday with the fan blade. Remember how we did the jet engine fan blade yesterday? I'll be doing the same thing to this staircase now, to the steps of the staircase. So what I'll be doing, I'll select the staircase, the steps, and this particular one, and I'll add the array modifier. Okay. Since we are trying to like duplicate the pin and make it spiral, so add the array modifier. Now when you add it, of course, to not look desirable at first. But what we'll be using now, of course, we'll not be using the relative offset. We'll be using the object offset, and what we'll be using for the offset is this pole. Okay, since the pole is like a central is like the central thing that we'll be using. So we'll be using the pole as the as the object offset. So we'll deselect this relative offset, and we select the object offset. We'll click the drop down to specify our object. Okay, so we use the eyedropper tool. I'll come here to the cylinder. Remember, this was the cylinder we added that to make the pole, and then you select that. Okay, now that I've selected it, it seems as if nothing is happening, and that's a good sign actually. Believe it or not. Maybe I'll just increase the amount of steps a bit. Now the same way we did the jet engine, I'll select the pole, and now I can rotate the pole in object mode about the Z axis. Okay, like I said, it's forming like our steps, but everything is on the same plane, which is not desirable. Okay, so something like this. Now let me escape that, or right click to snap everything back, and select this. I want to increase the number of steps. I don't know, maybe 15. I just put 15. So that's the number of duplicates that will be created. Okay, now I'll select the pole now, and I'll scale it, and I'll rotate it on the Z axis. Okay, yeah, now I have it rotated on the Z axis. Good. I'll just eyeball it for now. I can still make it more accurate. Now everything is on the same plane, which is not desirable. We want it, of course, that's not how a spiral step looks like. Where's our reference? The spiral step, everything is going up. Okay, how do we do that? What are we going to? Who has an idea of what we can do to make the steps stack vertically? Anybody? I'll give you a clue. Whatever we're doing, we're going to do it to the pole. Okay. Hello. Hello. Anybody? Or no idea? Mubarak. Yes. Mustafa, can you see us now? I hope you are able to see us now. Mustafa, I need a feedback.
Hi, good evening.
Yes,
Can you
yes,
hear me?
yes, I can see you now. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Okay, what I was asking Mubarak is, I said, now look at this. Let me undo that. What do I have here? We've added the array modifier to this board now. This will be the first board of the reference board of the spiral step. Okay. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to create this step here, this spiral step. Okay. This is what we're trying to do. And just like we created the jet engine yesterday, we were first going to make a board, just a single unit of the floorboard of the step. Okay. And that's what we've done here. Created just a single unit, right? And now we add the array modifier, and we're not just using any offset, we're using object offset. Okay. And we use the offset, and the object offset we used was the this cylinder. So we just click on the eyedropper tool, and we clicked on the cylinder to make the cylinder the object offset. Okay. So whenever we manipulate the cylinder, it will work relative to our it will create a relative object, as in you will use the transform to offset all the duplicates of the board of the step of the staircase, right? So that's why we're using object offset. So now what I said was I rotated this on the z-axis so that all the staircases will come out of will be revealed, right? So now they are revealed and they look something like this. But this is not how we want our staircase to look like, because everything is looking like basically looking like a disc now instead of looking like a stair. So what are we going to do to this pool now to make all the steps to arrange as if they are arranging a spiral step and still going upward? Okay. So what are we going to do? That's the question. Do you understand the question now, Mubarak?
Hello.
Yeah, okay, so we change exactly. Excellent. That's what we're going to do. So
Hi, Mayoko.
wait, hold on. Sorry?
Godwin.
Yeah,
Please, can you go back to the way you rotate? You use the cylinder
yeah,
to
Godwin.
rotate the. Can you hear me?
Godwin,
Can you hear
please
me?
answer. Please continue.
I said, can you explain again how you use the cylinder to rotate
Hello, Godwin.
the?
You wanted to say something?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Wow.
Can you hear me?
Okay, Mubarak, you're right. Although there's another way I wanted us to do it, but which we can still do it that way. You're absolutely right. Okay, Godwin is off, I believe. Give me a second. Godwin, okay, Godwin is back. Yeah, Godwin, you're asking a question.
Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me now?
Godwin.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
All right. I'll be proceeding. I don't think you can hear.
Hello, Mayo, can
Okay,
you
so
hear me?
what Mubarak said is right. He said we change the z values, okay, for the array. So now, but technically you didn't answer you were wrong, because what I said was what we're going to do is going to be on this particular pole. But actually there are two ways to do it. It's all about achieving the same result, right? So what we can do, okay, is we can tick because what we're doing is a relative offset to this. We can actually use more than one offset at the same time. Okay, so we'll tick the relative offset. Yeah, it's going to be weird, right? But that's because we have a particular number on the on the x factor. So we make this 0, okay? Make this 0 firstly. Then we now come to the z-axis. This is what we want to do, is to offset and displace it on the z-axis to make the spiral go upward. So now come to the z-axis. We can come and start increasing it gradually. Maybe you can go where we did. Okay. All right. So we have the spiral state. This is all we need to do. We can do this, or let me select this, or we can take the actual object offset and we grab it on the z-axis. Okay, to do the same thing. Notice that I did the same thing, and notice that I was grabbing the object offset in object mode. Okay, notice I was doing that in object mode. This is how you know if it's in object mode. So there are 2 ways to do that. You can do whichever one pleases you. Okay, but if it was me that was modeling, I wouldn't want to be come here again, trying to fiddle with things. I just want to do something that is faster. So I just grab this, move on the z-axis. I don't know, but it's all about your preference. Okay. So, but in this case, I want to move this on the z-axis so that we can so I can have a little bit, so I can have a change for once. Okay. So let me just move it. Let me bring out this move. Let's move it slightly more on the z-axis. Okay. The staircase is looking too short, so I want to make it taller. Okay. Now watch the difference. I'm moving it on the z-axis. Okay, in object mode, and I can go into edit mode. I moved on the z-axis, but nothing will happen to the displacement. Okay, to the displacement. So I moved on the z-axis. The same thing, but in different modes, and that will affect that will determine which will affect the array, right? So if I'm doing anything in edit mode, as far as Blender is concerned, I've not messed with the object origin, so it's not going to. That's the reason why it's not affecting the board or the steps of the staircase. Okay. So now maybe it's a little bit higher. Okay, good. Now I'm going back to object mode, because I want to make the board, the staircase, a little bit taller, just a little bit taller. Okay, yeah, I think this is okay. Yeah, this is okay. All right, good. So we have the basic shape of staircase, right? A staircase looking like this, and yeah, I think we can leave it this way. So let's observe our reference. Okay, Stefan. Like I said, Stefan, if you want to call my attention to something, you can just interrupt me. I have to come here now before I know that you type something.
You could not hear some people. That's why.
Okay.
That's why I used the chat.
What's wrong with your staircase, Stefan? Stefan, just share your screen. I will stop sharing my screen now, so you can share your screen and we'll discuss what your issue is. Okay. Stefan, can you hear me? Hello, Stefan. Okay, good. So I've stopped sharing my screen. Unmute your mic and share your screen. Teniola, be ready. I didn't forget you. I didn't forget about you. Stefan, we're waiting for you. Okay. Okay, good. The same problem we had yesterday. I'll explain this. Now, that's the trick with array modifiers that I noticed. Stefan, unmute your mic so you can discuss.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, you can hear me.
All right. Yes. So back to your Blender.
So this is the problem I'm having with the staircase. Can you see it? Yeah, this long thing.
Increase your array. Increase your number of arrays. So I can confirm this. Maybe like 3. No, the number of array counts. Yeah, exactly. Increase it. Exactly. This is exactly what it's exactly what I was thinking about. Now, the reason why you're having this problem is because you manipulated your object in object mode. I don't know if you get me.
Oh, okay.
You were scaling the object in object mode. I told you that if you do anything you do in object mode, Blender will it will like it will add to the history of the origin. So if you manipulate an object in edit mode, it's like Blender is recognizing that okay, the object is still intact, nothing has changed about it, but it will still behave the same way. But if you go into edit mode and you in object mode and you start scaling in object mode, this is exactly what happened. We had I think Mustafa, you're the one that made this. Was it Mustafa? I can't remember. That made this mistake yesterday when we're doing the.
No, I was just asking. Like, I was
Okay,
just
yeah, sorry,
asking
yeah, I
when
remember. You're not the
someone
one. I think it's Abdul Salam. Is it Abdul Salam? That your
Yeah,
fan blade was looking weird.
yeah.
Exactly.
I'm also having that issue right now. So
Exactly. So, but you've gotten your error now, Abdul Salam. You know how to solve something
no,
like that.
still, I tried editing in edit mode only and still produced the same error.
Sorry. So you still have the same error.
Yes,
uh,
even when I tried
uh,
editing in edit
I'm
mode
sorry.
only.
I'm sorry. Can I make a contribution also? I don't know.
Yes.
Based on that issue, I think if we should go to objects at the top around that object mode, we should click on apply, like Control A, then apply the location, rotation, and
Exactly.
scale. That
I
should
wanted to mention that right now, and that's what I wanted to say to
okay.
mitigate that. Stefan, continue sharing your screen. I want to give it a scope. Okay, good.
Okay.
So
So
now,
I mean,
exactly, if you want to correct that, add the array modifier again to the cube. Okay, yeah. So okay, the cube is not the issue. Is the what they call it, the pole that is the issue. It was the pole you scaled in the um it was the pole you scaled in the edit in object mode, which you shouldn't have done. So select the pole now. Select the central pole, the cylinder. Go back into object mode. No,
should
go back.
I should still go to the object?
No,
Okay.
go into object mode first. As
Okay.
I see it now, your cube is not the issue. It's not the one you scaled. It was the pole that you scaled in object
Okay.
mode that's giving you issues.
Okay.
So go into object mode. Select the pole. The pole.
Like this.
Exactly. Now press
Yeah.
Control A on your keyboard.
Control E.
Control A for Apple.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Now
Scale, right?
apply scale exactly. Or you could apply transform whichever way. So now try using. You can now add the what do you call it, the object offset using the pole. You can now add the pole as the object offset. No, select your staircase. Your staircase. No. Your staircase. Exactly. Now object offset. Don't forget to deselect that relative offset if you will not be using it for the keyboard. Deselect it. Okay, good. So eyedropper and use your exactly. No, hold on. Click on the cylinder again.
Should I still click on the
Wait, hold on.
relative offset?
I think I understand. Click on the cylinder. No, the cylinder. The cylinder. Click Control A. All transforms. Use
Okay.
all transforms now. Yeah. Uh, I'm thinking. Okay, probably it was the what do you call it? The
He scaled the cube
the cube.
also inside object mode as well.
Yeah, exactly. You scaled both the cube and this thing. So I would suggest that you select the cube. The cube.
I can't change my own.
Stefan.
Hello? Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, I said select the cube.
Okay.
Yeah, apply all transforms to the cube. Control A.
It's like the cube and the plank are merged together. Should I?
No, 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 no. They are not merged together per se. They are like it's the same modifier. So there's nothing. If you increase the amount of count, increase your array count to maybe three or something. You see that the next one is going to be bigger or something like that. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So select the cube. Press Control A and apply all transforms. Control A to apply all transforms. Exactly. So now that has solved your problems. So
Yeah.
if you so yeah, you're now with us. Everything is up to date. So you can now go make sure whatever editing you are doing to the step now, make sure it's done in edit mode. I cannot stress this enough. So the sign that the fact that it looks as if nothing has happened is a good sign. Don't worry. It's a good sign. Don't be worried. Don't be alarmed. All right. So Abdurazak, welcome back. It seems you lost you along the line. So Teniola, can we have you now? Yeah, I told you I didn't forget about you.
So help me God.
Sorry, what did you say?
I said, so help me God.
Okay. Yeah, God will help you. Amen. We're all saying amen for you. You don't even have Blender opened up. Why?
I do. It's right here.
Okay. All right. I thought you didn't have it open up. Okay, so okay, good. So press A to select everything in your scene, and well, I don't know why you could actually leave it, but I would suggest you just delete everything in your scene so you can start from scratch. So you don't
So
have
you
all this
said,
other confusing. Okay, A
so
to
this
select.
is how my Blender opens. Is there a way to change that?
No, that's the default. It's not a big deal, honestly. That's how all Blender opens up. It's
Okay.
open with to start with a cube with this. I usually just delete them because can obstruct my work. Just press X, tap X on your keyboard, and select delete. X
Okay.
delete. Okay, good. So now Shift A, you can add in the cylinder. That central pull that we're talking about. Shift A to add the cylinder. Shift A.
Definitely not my short.
Okay, sorry, I forgot. You can no, hold on. Go to the your mouse. Bring your mouse to the top left corner. Top left corner. You see after that object mode stuff. You see like view, select, add, object. Yeah, that add. Click it. Wait, hold on, hold on. Hover your mouse over the add. Okay. Hover your mouse over the add. No, don't click it. Don't click it. Just hover your mouse over it. Now you see that shortcut key.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to press on your keyboard.
Okay.
Now, if you can't press that, you just click it. Click
I'm
it.
trying arrow up A and it doesn't seem to work. Except this is not arrow up.
Yeah, I don't think that's arrow up. That's actually shift. It's not arrow up. I'm not sure what the equivalent is on Mac OS, but that's definitely not arrow up.
Okay. Let me just click.
Okay, just click on it. You can the other way is just click on it, then go to mesh. Okay, now cylinder. You're adding the cylinder. Remember, we're adding the central pull.
Yes.
Now, okay, good. You have a basic cylinder now. Now go to tab to go into edit mode of the cylinder. Okay, edit mode. Excellent. All right. So now what you want to do is you want to increase the size of the cylinder on the vertical axis. And what's the vertical axis there?
That should be Z.
Exactly. Excellent. So that's the vertical axis. So you want to scale it on the vertical axis. So what you're going to do is you're going to tap S on your keyboard and immediately you're going to tap Z. Notice you're not pressing them together. Just tap S, then you tap Z. Then you cannot pull your mouse out. Exactly. Excellent. Now you use your discretion for this. It's all about you how long you want it to be. But just bear in mind, you saw the picture of the reference that we're using.
Yes.
Okay, so just bear in mind to have it look something like that. Um, I think you can click now to just make it permanent, or you press enter. Okay, good. So now the pole is looking a little bit fat. It's looking more like a pillar rather than a pole. So it's looking more like a pillar rather than a pole. No, 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 no. Escape. Escape. Okay. So why I told you to escape was because you're scaling it on only one axis, and it's going to make it the cross section look like an oval rather than still maintaining a cylindrical shape. Okay. You understand?
Oh, okay.
So what you're going to do now, you're going to scale it, but you're going to scale it on two axes at the same time to preserve the circular cross section. So you're going to press scale, and the way to, if you want to do something on two axes at the same time, you exclude the third axis. It's not as if you click the two axes, you exclude the third one. So you press scale, and which of the axes are you not working on?
I'm not working on Z.
Exactly. So you press scale and you exclude Z. So you press S and Z. Sorry. You press S and shift Z. My bad. Okay, the shift button, right? Right. I understand. You know what?
That worked. I think that worked.
Okay, good. Yeah. What did you press the shift now, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So scaling now, you can now push in your mouse to reduce the size and to preserve the. Exactly. Excellent. It's based on your discretion. You can select it if your mouse is too close to center so that you won't have some troubles. Then you now do it again. I told you if you are scaling inward, this is a rule of thumb. Then you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, this is a rule of thumb if you are scaling inward. If you are scaling inward, let your mouse be a little bit farther from the your mouse head, the pointer to be farther from the center. Okay. But if you are scaling outward, let your mouse be closer to the center because you'll be dragging your mouse outward eventually. And if you're the vice versa for scaling inward, all right? So that's just a rule of thumb. Okay, so it's still a little bit too far. The pole is a little bit too big for maybe it's just for me though, it's a little bit too big. So you can reduce the pole again. Yeah, do the same scaling on shift Z to exclude Z, exactly. Drag inward. Good. Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, it's good. We'll manage this.
Manage?
No, okay, we'll accept this. Don't worry. Excellent. So you can go back into object mode now. Absalam, please be ready, and Mustafa, and likewise Abdurazak. Before we get to Mubarak. Okay, you guys should be ready. You're next. Okay, so go into object mode, yeah?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, select the object mode. Okay, so now you're in object mode, right? Now you add another a cube. Okay.
A mesh, right?
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. Perfect. Now you've added the cube. Now you understand that to make a cube flatter, you scale it on which axis? If you want to make it flatter,
I'll scale it on Z.
Okay, excellent. So don't scale it right now. Go into edit mode to scale it, because if you scale it now, you'll have the same problems that Stefan was having. So good. Now scale. Hold on. I told you that if you are scaling inward, you make your mouse to be towards the exactly. Excellent. Now press S to scale, and you specify your axis that you're scaling on. Excellent. Yeah, you see, you're getting the hang of it. Okay. Now, if the scaling is jumping, if it's moving too fast, like the steps is moving too fast, and you want to scale slightly, as in a little bit more gradual.
Yeah.
Okay. You hold shift and scale in. Okay. Godwin, I can see you. Don't worry. Everyone, I'll get to everyone.
Okay, I can see it. I'm doing that.
Yeah, exactly. If you hold shift, you notice that it's as if it's moving slower.
Yes.
Excellent. So that's just for more accuracy. You can take your hand off if you want to move it a bit faster. So just make it thinner. come back to the web page so I can show you the, or you can type in on your web page spiral staircase, so you see the reference we're working with. Yeah, exactly. So this is the reference we're working with. So you can see how thin each of the floorboards are. So you just eyeball it and have an idea.
Sorry, where am I supposed to?
The one, come to the web page. Just come to the. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at my own. Can you just type
Was
in?
it sent?
Sorry.
Was it sent in the chat or something?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Let me even send it. I think that's even better. Okay, can you see that now? I've sent it. Okay, so that's our reference.
Okay.
So just so you go back to Blender and try to make your board to match that just the individual. Go back to Blender.
Okay. So that means there's nothing on the left. Everything moves to the right, right?
Yeah, exactly. But don't worry, we'll get to that. Yeah, actually. But just first of all, just focus on the board first. Get the board to be flat, to make it a little bit flatter. Z. Scaling on Z. You are scaling on all axes. When you press S, you tap Z to scale on the Z axis. Exactly. Okay. Good. Yeah, this is good. We can work with this. Now you can scale it on whether you can scale it on either of X axis or Z axis. It wouldn't matter because it will be rotated either ways. So
sorry, I'm not sure I get.
I said to make the board, you notice that the board in the reference, right?
Yes.
The board in the reference is somewhat flat and elongated, looking like a cell phone.
Yes.
Like exactly. So what you want to do is you want to scale that. You want to increase the size on a particular on Y axis or on X axis. Okay.
Okay.
So exactly the same way you flattened it on the Z axis, you just excellent.
I make it long.
Yeah, you can bring it out. Yeah, the length is your discretion. If you want your staircase to be this long, yeah, I think you should make it smaller though. It's okay. I think it's okay now. Okay. Now the entire staircase board is a little bit too big, so just scale everything. No, don't specify any axis now. Just scale everything a little bit inward. Make it smaller. S inward. Just a little bit.
When you say everything, including the cylinder.
No, just in the object mode, as you are now. Exactly what you're doing right now.
No, I'm saying, should I include the cylinder or only the cube?
No. Ignore the cylinder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Exactly. Just leave that. I think that's okay. Okay, good. So now, you can bring up your gizmo, your move gizmo, your transform gizmo, on the tool shelf. You know how I brought it up?
I don't understand anything said.
Take your mouse, your pointer head, go to the left, the extreme left of your screen, to the tool shelf, not up top left, extremely just the left. The tool shelf, all those icons on the left. On the left. No, left. Down. Go a bit downward. Ahead. Those icons.
Okay.
That's a tool shelf. Okay. So just click either move or scale or whichever one. But I'll suggest you click move. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So it has brought up your gizmo now. You saw those arrowheads. That's your gizmo.
Oh, okay.
So now you can move it on the Y axis. So just press click on the green one, the green arrowhead. No. A to select everything again. Yeah. Now move on the Y axis. Click on the green one and drag it out. Excellent. Perfect. drag it in such a way that the edge will just barely be touching the cylinder, or merely touching the cylinder. You can still go even out. You can still go outward slightly. No. Make sure you're grabbing the Z axis, the Y axis rather. That's the Y, green. Yeah, bring it outward. And still do it. Just make sure that the edge of each of them are just merely touching. It's not
Merely
too,
touching the cylinder, right?
yeah, merely touching the cylinder.
Okay. Is it okay like this?
No. On the outside now. Like bring it out. No, out. No. Out. No, the other way. Yes, keep going. As if you're separating them. Exactly. Yeah. Just you can bring it slightly closer. Exactly. I think that's okay. So now go into your top view. Tap number 7 on your keyboard. Absalam, please be ready.
Number 7 is not doing anything.
Okay. You know what? Bring your mouse to the top left corner. I think. Okay, were you in the first class? I mentioned this in the first.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, this is also to everybody. Everybody, please listen up. If you are using a keyboard, that does not have the numpad, okay, that's the pad that has all those, that looks like a calculator basically, on your keyboard. If your keyboard does not have that, all right, so you should do the same thing that I'll be instructing Teniola to do right now. Okay, so just pay attention. So bring your mouse to the top left corner and click that edit just beside file tab. Exactly. Now scroll down to preferences. Click the edit and scroll down to preferences. Yeah. Now look for navigation, I believe. Yeah, navigation. Is that it? Okay, no, it's not navigation. It's input rather. Input, just above navigation. Yes. Now go to the keyboard. You see that drop down of keyboard, right? Emulate numpad. Tick that option. Emulate numpad. Good. Now, since you don't have a mouse, I really don't advise this. If you don't have a mouse, you can tick that emulate 3 mouse button too. Yeah, on that mouse, exactly. And you just go to save and load on the left. Save and load. Yeah, save and load, and you can close this. You can close it. You can close that window. Okay, good. So now what you have just done, what's the emulate numpad will enable your numpad to behave like that calculator, the actual numpad, like the name implies, to emulate numpad. So if you tap the number keys on the number row, which is at the top of your keyboard, it will do exactly what I will tell you to do. So press Z now and it will do that. No, press Z. Sorry, press 7. Sorry, I'm sorry. I meant 7. Press 7, exactly, to snap to the top view now. And also, you notice how I was orbiting, right? When I click the middle mouse button. Hello, did you hear me? Can you hear me?
I should click the middle mouse button.
No. Listen, I'm telling you something. You notice how I was orbiting when if I wanted to like have a 3D view.
Yes, I did. I just didn't know you were doing it.
Exactly. So what I was doing was I was clicking the middle mouse, that mouse wheel. I was clicking the middle mouse wheel and I was rotating with my mouse. But since you didn't have a mouse, you have ticked that emulate 3 mouse button. So how to do that is you tap the Alt button on your keyboard and you click with the trackpad, and you can now orbit and do the same, and you cannot move around your mouse to do that.
No, I don't know what Alt is here.
I think that should be options, I guess.
Okay.
That should be options. So you hold options, then you click, and then you drag around with your mouse. I hope it works. Exactly. Yeah. Excellent. Exactly. Yeah, this is why you should really get an external mouse. Okay, good. Yeah, that's good enough. So let's go back to quickly. We're running out of time.
So top, back to top, or
Yeah, just press 7 back to top. Press 7 and 5. Okay. Yeah, so now go into wireframe. You know how to go into wireframe, right?
no, I don't.
Tap Z and click the wireframe wherever you see wireframe, or you can just go to the, bring your mouse just above the coordinates reference. That's the top right of your keyboard of your screen. Just above that, one of those one of those four balls is the wireframe. No, above. Four balls, exactly. One, you just hover your mouse over it to the one that whichever one it says wireframe. That's the one you should click. Yeah. So exactly, that's it. No, you're done. You're done. That's it. So now select the all the vertices that are closest to the pole.
That's Y and X.
No. I said select all the vertices that are closest to the pole. Vertices. That's like the points of the edges, the sharpest point of the cube of the thing. And if you want to select everything, what I was doing was just click and drag. Hold on. It will be a pain in the neck if you are doing it that way. Click and drag. No. Go out. Take your mouse out of the Click and drag. Hold click and drag.
What am I clicking?
No, just click anything. Click randomly and hold and drag. You see what will happen. Exactly. You see that box. Let the bounding box to select everything that you are trying to select. No, not everything. Just the vertices closest to the exactly. Every other person, please pay attention, especially for those that haven't been in the first and second classes that we did. Okay, I'm intentionally going through these basics so that we can all still learn. Those that missed the first classes, so you don't get lost. Okay, so please just pay attention. All right, so now that I've selected that, you can now scale on the x-axis. Tap S and scale on the x-axis. X-axis, then exactly. Bring it inward. You know what? Want the farther part to be wider than the one closest to the pole. Okay. Okay. So you can still make it slightly inward. Yeah, I think we're good now. Yeah. Exactly. You're doing well. You're doing well.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, you can quit now. Perfect. Okay, good. So you can go back into your front view or orbit, and you can just go change the view now. Then go into solid view. Okay. Absalam, are you ready? And Godwin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so go into solid view. You know how you did. Do you know how to do that?
Which one do I do first?
Do you remember how you went into the wireframe view? It doesn't matter whichever order.
Wireframe.
Do you remember how you went to the wireframe view?
I tapped 7.
Nope, not 7Z.
Let's see.
Okay, good. So the same way, just like solid. Okay. So whenever I tell you to toggle between wireframe or solid or rendered or material, whenever I tell you to toggle between all those views, that's the same way to be doing everything. Okay.
Okay.
All right, good. So what you're going to do now, you can go into object mode. Go back into object mode. And now I want you to orbit in such a way that you'll be able to see your scene in a 3D view. Right now you're just seeing from top, so orbit. You know I told you to orbit. Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good enough. That's good enough. I would prefer you do it in such a way that I can see everything, but this is okay. So this is okay. So now select the it's already selected though, the board, and go into the modifiers panel. Modifiers. Go to your modifiers. Absalam and Godwin.
Is that here?
Have you guys been? Are you guys following with the steps and everything? Have you guys
Oh,
got?
I've resolved my issue.
Sorry.
I've resolved my issue already.
Okay, you've resolved your issue. Excellent.
Yeah.
Godwin, how about you? Have you able to follow to this point?
Yeah, I'm following. I'm following.
All right, excellent. Mustafa, how about you? And Abdurazak. Okay, fella, I didn't forget about you.
Yeah, I'm even done with it.
Okay, good. Turn it back to you.
Okay.
All right. So, why are you pressing this? Escape. You can press escape or right click. Okay, good. Now go to the modifiers panel. That range icon. That spanner looking icon.
Oh, spanner. Where's spanner?
On the right. Go a little bit lower. In that property, in that window on the right, lower towards the lower part of your keyboard. On the right, no, the next window, exactly. That's yeah.
Oh, the spanner.
Okay, good. So now you click the modifier. Please take note of these steps, Tenny.
Yes, please.
Okay, so now you select the array modifier. That's what we've been working with. Array, just look for array. Yeah, select that. Good. Now orbit around. No, hold on. Before you increase the amount of count, orbit around so you can see the change that happened in your screen. Good. Yeah, you can see that it turned the body to 2. Okay, so that's what array does. Array is like a duplicator. It's like a duplicator. It helps to duplicate your object to, and there are some fancy or cool things that you can do with the array modifier, and that's how we'll be able to create the spiral staircase. Okay.
Okay.
So now you see that count button at where you added the array modifier.
Yes.
Count. So now that count it will determine how many duplicates you want. Okay. In this case, it will determine how many boards
Stairs.
of steps. Exactly. Excellent. So you cannot specify that to your specification. I think 15 should be enough. Most steps are around that kind of number, or 20. Okay, good.
I want 20.
You want 20? Your choice, please. Feel free. Okay, good. Now, you notice that everything is going just like it's going straight rather than having it go spiral, right? That's not
Yes.
what we want. So what you want to do is you want to untick that relative offset rather. Untick it.
Ooh.
Good. Now you come down. It seems as if it deleted it. It didn't delete it actually.
Okay.
Come down to the object offset. Now tick that. Good. Now click the drop down.
What drop down?
The drop down beside the object offset. Yeah. Now click that eyedropper tool and select the cylinder. The cylinder now. Okay. Quickly, let me just explain what you just did. So what you did is we are creating when you make an array, right? An array duplicates an object, right? So there are several ways of offsetting the distance between each duplicate, or the pattern in which duplicates appear. Okay. So you can the relative offset was the one that was selected initially, and that's why it's made everything just go straightward, right? What we want is we want to use another object, a relative position of another object to determine the how the what they call it, the
How the
duplicate.
stairs will be placed.
Exactly, excellent. So since we are making a spiral around this particular pole, around the central pole, so we are using the pole as our object offset, as the offset that will be, as the object that will be making the offset. Okay. So that's why I'm using the pole. Did you get that?
Would we be able to delete the pole after?
I will not be deleting the pole because you could, but it will mess up everything. But we are not. Let me just put it simply: we are not. And the reason why we're not is because the pole is actually part of our design. It's a part of our model in the spiral step. Exactly. Look at it.
But it's just one pole now.
Yeah. How many poles did you add before?
No, like I thought this array modifier is going to now duplicate the poles.
Okay, no, yeah, exactly. Let me explain this. What you added the array modifier to is you added it to the staircase, this floorboard, the boards of the steps, right? That's
Yeah.
what you added the array modifier to. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, why you clicked on the pole was because you are using the pole as a reference object to offset the different duplicates of the step board of the boards of the steps.
Okay, let me see it in action so I can understand better.
Okay, good. All right. So if just to see what the example of what I'm talking about, click on the pole.
I
on
already
the-
did. Oh, again.
No,
Okay.
just click on the pole now. Yeah, now the pole is selected. Take note of the of things that are selected. It will be the one highlighted. Okay.
Okay.
So the pole is selected. Now press G to grab and just move around randomly. You see what will happen. You don't just G to grab and move around randomly. Move your mouse around. No. You don't not drag. I didn't say drag it. Just press G and just move your trackpad. Just fiddle around with it. Now you can see what's happening. Escape. You can press escape or right click. Now that's why we clicked on we used the pole. The pole, you notice that when you were moving the pole, it was changing the way the duplicates were appearing, the positions and the distance between them, right?
Yes.
So that's why I used the pole as the object. If we had a cube and you selected the cube, if you move the cube around, the cube will also displace the duplicates of the array. So that's how basically the arrays work. Okay.
Okay.
That's how object offset works. So what we did was object offset of an array. All right.
Okay.
Good. So now what we are going to do is you're going to use the pole, rotate the pole about its z axis. Okay. To make the duplicates of the sets arrange in a spiral form or in a spiral form around the pole itself. So rotate the pole on the z axis. You know how to do that?
I'm not scaling, right?
Yeah, not scaling. Rotate. Rotate is R. R for rotate. R for rotate. S for scale. R for rotate. So just tap R and Z. Okay. So you can just move around with it and you see what will happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just what you want to do is you want to make it in such a that as soon as the first pole touches the one of the duplicate touches the other one, touches the first one, you can hold shift if it's moving too fast. Why did you take escape?
What's happening?
You're pressing another axis. You're pressing Z X axis rather. What you're supposed to be saying on is the exactly
and Y axis, right?
Yeah. No, Z. Sorry, Z. We're running out of time, and we still have quite a lot to do.
Okay.
Z. Okay. So just hold shift if you want to move it gradually. Hold shift. Now, what you're trying to do is exactly it's like you're using your mouse to trace the actual path that you want it to go to, sort of.
So what do I do?
You just make it such that once they touch, once it seems as they touch each other, good. Yeah, you can click or you press enter, whichever one. Okay, good. So now, I said there are two ways to actually displace the steps, right? Everybody else should be following them. You can move the pole itself, like move the pole on the Z axis, grab G to grab and tap Z, G and Z, G and Z. Now move the pole around, move the pole. You can see that it has created your spiral, your steps, okay? So I said you can either do that or you press escape first. Now, or you click on the actual step, the boards of the steps. Now go back into the where you found a relative offset. Now you can tick the relative offset exactly. Don't worry about how it looks now. You see that x, that factor x, right?
Mm-hmm.
Change the number to 0. Taps in 0. Okay. Now look for the x, the z, and change it to. You can start. No, you can start increasing it. Make it 1 at first. Now make it 1 or any number. So you can start increasing it. Just increase the number gradually by clicking the arrows exactly. So that will be doing that to your scene. So you can just use whichever number feels comfortable or looks natural enough for the staircase. Okay. Excellent. Our time is really, really fast spent. This is supposed to be a 2-hour class and it's already 2 hours. Okay, so we'll be rounding up in at most 30 minutes. Let's just 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes max. I just wanted to mention something so that you'll be able to understand the assignment, because this is your assignment, okay? I'll be sending the pictures of the staircase to you. Yeah, I'll be sending pictures of the staircase to you so you're able to work on it. Okay, so what we discussed, what we did today was we talked about the please everybody stop sharing your screen, Tenny. Absalam, okay, can you see my screen? Hello. This silence is deafening.
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Masirichi, can you please attend to Mubarak on the chats? Okay, so now today we discussed about curves, right? Don't forget that what we discussed about is curve. What I'm doing now is just basically the same thing we did yesterday, and that has spent most of our time. So what we discussed today is curves, right? And why we'll be needing curves is we'll be using the curves to create that spiral, the railings, the spiral railings. Okay. So how do we do that? Let's go into. Let me quickly create it so you see. This is your assignment. Please just bear in mind so you pay good attention now. To hide everything in your scene. Just know that hiding is not deleting everything. To hide everything in your scene is just pressing H. Okay. So I want to hide everything so it won't obstruct my view of everything of what I'm doing now. H to hide. Okay. So it's still there. It's still here. You can come to your to the top right here and reveal everything you've hidden. So now let me add a curve. Okay. I'm adding a curve, and what the curve I'll be adding, the curve I'll be adding is the Bezier curve. All right. So come up here, the very first option, the Bezier curve. Okay. And like I told you, a curve has edit mode also, so you can operate in the edit mode. So I'll press Tab to go into the edit mode of the curve, or I come up here to select object and edit mode. Okay. So now I have the curve, the edit mode of the curve. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything and make it bigger. Okay, making the curve quite bigger. Now, always look at your reference to have an idea. So the curve is looking like I can actually start out with a circle, then I'll now stretch out the circle to make it taller. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make the curve look like a circle first, then I'll now stretch it out. Okay. So let me take this first handle and rotate it. It's all about manipulation. There's no rule about it actually. It's all about your choice. There's a freedom. And please bear in mind the more you make a handle bigger, you can scale it to make it bigger or smaller. And the more you make it bigger and smaller, the more it affects the nature of the curve. Okay. So I told you can also extrude each vertex. These points are called vertices actually. Each point of a curve are called vertices. So you can extrude each vertex. Let me just extrude this like this, and I will still rotate it to make it. I'm just making a rough curve shape. Now you pay more attention to this in your assignment, okay? Because we've got to the point where I'll start looking at your um your accuracy and how well your model is done. Okay, so now if you want to add a vertex or you want to add a handle between two handles, right? Two vertices, you can just select both of them, and you subdivide them. Okay, what you press is subdivide. You press right click. You can right click anyway, and it will bring up the options for subdivide, and you press subdivide. It will create another vertex in between two of them. Okay, along the curve. All right, is that clear? So now you can just make this, bring this up here. What we are trying to do is we are trying to make it create
Sorry, can you come again?
From where specifically?
Where you use the subdivide?
Okay. Like you the subdivide option is you can do it in object mode too, or in either object or curve mode, right? So what I did was I said if you want to create a handle, let's say you have an handle here, right? We have another handle here, but you want to be able to control this center point where this bounding box is showing now. You want to be able to control the center point. Notice that you can't have enough control to it, even if you grab. Notice that the handle you can select them at 3 points. Now we should have gone in details because there are different kind of handles, but our time is fast spent, so I won't be talking about the different type of handles for now. I will just briefly mention it in the next class. So the handles, you can select 3 points of the handle. That's the one each of the extreme ends, and you can do whatever you like with it. Okay, and just fiddle it around. So like I said, if you want to create another handle in between these two handles along this curve, okay, make sure of course it will be along the curve. If you want to create another handle that you can manipulate, maybe you want to have full control of this center place to tweak the shape. All right, so what you do is you select both the handles. You select one handle, you hold shift to select more than one, and select the second one. Okay, now select the two handles, you now right click. What I did was I right clicked. Okay, it will bring up this option. Once you right click to bring up this option, and then you now select the subdivide option. That's all I did. Okay, Absalam, did you get that, or who asked the question? Follow up on me. Okay, Godwin, that was you, right? Okay, good. So that was all I did to create the handle. Did you understand that now? I'm not looking at the page, so just speak out to your mic.
Yeah, understand.
Okay, good. So you can now have full control of this center of. So what I did, I'm just moving this around with grab. Let me bring up my gizmo so you have to understand what I'm doing. Okay. I think let me rotate this slightly. Sorry. Now let me come here. Let me rotate this again. Let me scale this down. Try to look more rounded. Select this one. Maybe grab here and maybe, let's make it have a round look. Okay. Yeah, I think we're getting there. So now I'll extrude it once more, and I'll bring it just line up with this. Then I'll now make it rounded. I think we have a basic shape. Now with that still selected, I'll bring it up. Okay. Now I'll do something that I did yesterday. You notice yesterday when I was hovering mouse over this place, I said I was talking about proportional editing in Blender. That if you have like multiple vertices that you want to influence those multiple vertices, but you don't want to like move them the same way exactly. You just want like the influence to fade off. You understand? That's when you're going to use proportional editing. So now in the same way, if you look at our reference, the spiral is kind of gradual. Okay, now I could actually just take the first vertices and move it up, and go to the second one, move it slightly upward, go to the third one, maybe move it a little bit more upward, so to create that spiral effect. Or I can just take that is just one vertex and turn on my proportional editing, and then grab it on the z-axis. So what I'll be doing is I'll increase this influence, the circle of influence. I'll increase the circle of influence. Now notice that the two, both the two ends are being influenced, but I don't want this end to be influenced. Okay, that brings about another option in the proportional editing. Now, if you click the drop down proportional editing, there's a small checkbox. It will only walk around the circle of influence will only follow the next vertex that's directly connected to this. Okay, notice that this one is not directly connected. It has like a chain. It's at the end of the chain. But I want it to follow like the progression of the ones that are directly connected to it. So that's why I'll be selecting the connected only option. Okay, so I take the connected only option. So now if I grab this, you notice that the second one is not following it. All right, so I'll just increase the circle of influence by scrolling outward to make it bigger. Okay, I'm making it bigger. Excellent. So let me view this from top view so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm pressing G to grab on the Z axis. Okay, so now I'm going to make it bigger. Now I don't like the fall off because it seems as if the first part is moving, is kind of, is more is not looking as gradual as possible, as it is in the reference. So I'm going to change the fall off. So these are the options for the fall off. I spoke about that yesterday. So I'll just use some. Maybe I'll try linear for now. I'll try linear. Let me see how it looks like. So same thing. Grab G. Grab on the z-axis. Okay, so this is looking better, but it's still not doing what I want. So let me try another one. Maybe sharp. Yeah, I think that would do. Grab on the z-axis. Oops, it's doing the opposite. Let me use inverse square. Okay, now let's play around. Whichever one does what you want. It's all about your choice. Exactly like okay. Okay, I can still keep trying whichever one, but because of time, I don't want to waste time looking for which one works best. I think I'll try this square. So I think this works. You know what? I'll just do it manually. But so you get you if you have time, you can just fiddle around with whichever one works. Okay. So I'll press 0 to deselect the proportional editing. So I'm not using the proportional editing now. I'm going to front view to see that I have what I'm doing properly. Let me go see. Yeah, maybe this one next. Okay, and this one next. This is why I wanted to use the proportional editing, because I'll have to a lot of tweaking. Let me just use proportional editing again. Sorry. I'm using proportional editing now. I'll just say. So I'm using the smooth one. So I'll be moving this. Yeah, I think this works perfectly. Yeah, I think this is okay. Okay, good. So I've been able to create the spherical look. Now I'm wondering that what we're trying to do is a handle, is the railing, but what we have now is just like a noodle. So how do you do that? Now this way you come back to the options of the curve. Okay, notice how I got the options. It's like 3 options down below the wrench option. Okay, the third to the last icon here. So that will bring up the options for a curve, right, or for an object basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the depth. Okay, and notice that as I am increasing the depth, it's giving it geometry. Okay, all right, it's giving it geometry. It's too thick now. Let me just reduce this slightly. Okay, yeah, I think this is okay. And now let me unhide staircase and pool, so I'll make sure I know what I know the size it matches up. Oops, yeah, I see that it's way bigger than it should be. So let's scale it down now. Press S to scale everything down. Okay. It's still a little bit offset, so I'll rotate it on the Z axis until it matches up. Okay. Okay. It's rotated around the opposite helix, the opposite side. So there are a few ways you can do this. You can actually change the way this is rotated. Maybe you rotate this one on the other side, on the Z axis. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you can do this, or whichever one. You just fiddle around to make sure you have what you're doing. I'm trying to rush because at time I want to round up before 6:30, on or before 6:30. Yeah, so basically, I think we won't be able to finish the steps right now if I'm to carry everybody along. But I would have loved if we could do this as an assignment. But just for only for now, I want you to do exactly what I did now. Exactly this. Create this spiral and create the steps looking just in this very premature form. Okay. In the next class we'll complete it. But this is exactly is what you're doing as your assignment. Exactly this. Okay. Did everybody hear me? Hello?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Does anybody have any question about how I achieved this? Because this will be your assignment. Please bear in mind that if you rotate your spiral about the z-axis in the wrong direction, you can actually just rotate it in the other direction to make the spiral align. Okay, because this will be like the railings of the sphere. Okay. So any questions? Any questions, please? Questions? What I'm doing is I'm reducing the depth to make it smaller. Hello, anybody? Any question?
Sorry, I got lost. How did you make the bezel to a twisted pipe?
Okay. What I did was when I add were you following when I added the basic? Hello? Who's asking me?
Yes, I was with you. I was with you.
Yeah, Godwin.
Godwin.
Okay, so you were with me when I added the basic, right?
Yes.
Okay, now let me add another basic and do something like move it out. Okay. So when you add the basic, this is how it looks like initially, right? So you go into the edit mode. You can come up here to click the drop down and go to edit mode, or you press the tab button on your keyboard to toggle between edit and object mode. Okay. So you go into your edit mode. Okay. Now I'm viewing from top. What I pressed was 7 to view from the top, right? And then you rotate. So and basic curve. And whenever you manipulate a handle, it will change the shape of the curve, okay, to whatever you desire. All right. Did you get that, Godwin?
Yes, yes, I got that.
So what I was just doing, it's all about manipulation. It's not as if there's no a rule about it. Okay. So what I was doing was I just took a curve, I just took one of the vertices and I extruded it. Okay, I press E to extrude the same way you extrude in mesh mode. E to extrude, and to automatically create another as an extend the loop, the spiral. Okay. So and I was still rotating. All I was doing was rotating and extruding and just moving around, just to fiddle around with it till you get a circular shape. Okay. Just to rotate this a bit. Maybe grab this here. Come here. Maybe move this around and rotate. Okay. Are you getting what I'm doing now?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, good. So I have what I did, and now when I got the basic shape that looks like a spiral, a circle, right? I now took one of the vertices and now raised it up. Okay. Notice when I raise it up, it's automatically formed like a spiral. Okay, but what I did was I raised it up in when I had this proportional editing selected. Now, what the proportional editing does is, okay, when I move this now, no matter how much, sorry, let me just remove this. No matter how much I move this, it's as if it is tethered to that point. The influence does not change, go beyond that this particular point here. Do you notice that?
Yes, that's the issue I'm having here.
Okay, so what I did was I selected proportional editing. Notice what I selected. Watch my mouse. Okay. Can you see me? Hello, I need feedback. I need feedback.
Yes, I can see you. I can see you.
Okay, we're already running out of time. I'm trying to rush. So you can also press the O button on your keyboard. O, not zero. O, make sure it's O, not zero. O to toggle turning on the proportional editing or turning off. Okay. So once you have it turned on, you want to click this drop down beside the proportional editing, and what you would like to select, want to select is this connected only. Okay.
Okay.
Have you selected that?
Yes, I've done that.
Okay. Now, reason why you are selecting the connected only is because when you I'm coming, give me a second. Just want to move this back so much. So when you select connected only, and let's say you select the proportional editing, you saw the circle of influence that appeared over your mouse, right? Over your cursor.
Yes.
Now, the circle of influence will actually affect everything within its range. Sorry, will actually affect everything within its range. But what I want is the because I'm going to use this to affect the other vertices. Because initially I would have had to select each vertex and be moving them upward and one by one like that, and that would be tedious. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So when I select this, reason why I selected as connected only is because it rather than having it just select all the vertices within its circle of influence, within that circle of influence, it will now instead follow the vertices that are directly connected to this selected one. So this one is the selected one. So if you follow the loop, the spiral, the next one that is connected to it is this, and the next one connected to it is this. But if I didn't have that connected, if I don't have this connected only selected, it will also affect this one as on directly. Okay, the fall off will not follow that, will not gradually fade off as it follows the spiral. Do you understand that now?
Yeah, I'm following you.
Okay, good. So that's why I selected that, and that's why. And if you do that, it should behave the same way. It should behave the proper way now. So now, after I've created the loop and what I pressed was I went to back into object mode. You have the loop like this, the spiral like this, rather, like the noodle. Okay. So you now come into the properties here and make sure that you come into this icon here. Can you see this icon that looks like a curve, like a noodle?
No, I can't.
Make sure you have your curve selected. If you don't have it selected, you should select your curve, and then you see the
In our object mode.
Yeah, in object mode.
Okay.
In object mode.
Okay.
So you select this curve, this curve icon here.
Okay.
So now you cannot scroll up and down. Now you see something like in case you can't see this geometry, just maybe it has been collapsed. Okay, so you can bring it down, the drop down, or collapse it. So look for geometry. The geometry tab. Okay.
I'm there already.
Okay, scroll. So you can open it, expand it. Now you see under the geometry you see some option. You see an option as offset, right? Okay, cool. So you can now.
Yes, I'm seeing offset here.
No, sorry, not the offset now. We would still do that, but not the offset. Go down towards bevel. You see under the geometry, you still see bevel. It's like another drop down on it. It's a subheading.
Yes, I can see bevel. Yes,
under bevel you see depth.
Inside the geometry.
Yeah, exactly. You see depth, right? Can you see depth?
Yes.
Now increase the depth. Start increasing it.
I can see depth.
Yeah, increase the depth. When you increase the depth, you see what will start happening to code.
Okay. I see now. I can see it now.
Exactly. Yeah, it will start looking like a pipe or like a hose, basically. Okay. So yeah, so basically that's all I want you guys to do in your assignment. Unfortunately we spent quite a few time trying to reiterate some things in this class. So um we are not able to we're not able to finish the staircase. So what I want you to do now is I want you to just do this. Let me delete this. I want you to do exactly this. I'll be sending a screenshot in the document for your assignment. Making a screenshot. Okay. So do exactly this. Make the spiral, make the staircase, and make your cylinder column, and send exactly this as your assignment. Okay, and the same rule applies. Send a screenshot in object mode, in wireframe, and in rendered view. Now, Tenny, I've not been seeing your assignments, and since I was able to follow along with you specifically on this class, I want to see your assignment on this. Okay, Tenny, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Rufus is not here, so I would have been specific about him too. So every other person, I believe you have been submitting your assignment, so you don't have any excuse. Mubarak, Mustafa, Stefan, Absalam, Maserichi. Is there anyone else? Okay, no, I think who else? Okay, I think Abdurazak. Okay, Razak has gone off. So everyone here, I believe you should be able to submit your assignment. You don't have any excuse. All right, so I won't be lenient anymore. So do this and submit your assignments. Even if you're not able to get it perfectly, just it's important. Just do the assignment. So we'll come to class and we'll correct you if you have any errors. Okay. All right. So with that being said, that'll be the end of the class for today. In a few minutes, I'll be sending the documents for your for your assignment, PDF for your assignments to be good. So that's all. Yeah, I don't know if Ms. Maserachi has any announcements before we round up the class. Before we close class.
All right. No specific announcement other than please make sure you take your attendance before you sign off, and then take your assignments seriously. See you in next class. Thank you.
Sorry, how do we take attendance?
The link for taking the attendance is in the comment box. So just follow the link and fill the form. There's a Google form provided to be available for each class.
Sorry, I just requested access.
You will be granted access.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so I believe that's the end of the class. Have a nice day and work on your assignments. Those of us that have not done the jet engine assignments, go ahead and do it. Tenny, you should also have the idea of the jet engine assignments now, so you'll be able to do